Hello, everyone, and welcome to Slash Film Daily for Wednesday, April 14th, 2021. On today's episode, we're going to discuss what we've been up to at the water cooler. This is Slash Film Editor-in-Chief Peter Sciretta, and joining me on today's podcast is Slash Film Weekend Editor Brad Oman.
Hey, that's me.
Senior Writer Ben Pearson.
Hey, what's going on?
And writers Hoai-Tran.
Hey, everyone.
And Chris Evangelista.
Hello.
So Jacob is away today. He will return next week, and, that means the book isn't here for the end of the episode. So that's a win, right? Win-win. I guess lose-win because Jacob isn't here, but it's the positive side of Jacob not being here. It's the book doesn't come out. So
just say you hate Jacob and go, Peter.
I'm just looking on the upside here. Is what I'm trying to say. Okay, let's move into what we've been doing. Yesterday was Chris's birthday. Chris, happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Oh,
happy birthday!
Wow.
Thank you, everyone.
Chris seems like the person like me who, like, the biggest thing they dread is like going out to eat on their birthday and like someone telling the waiter that it's their birthday and then having people come over and sing happy birthday.
I love that.
No. If that ever happened to me, I would
turn
into like. I would like melt. I would turn into like liquid, and I would cease to exist if that happened to me. No one ever do that for me, please. I beg you.
You had yesterday off. Did you do anything interesting?
No. I just hung out, and there's like a brewery on the corner of my block, and so my wife and I went there with the dogs. The dogs didn't drink anything, so it was just me and my wife. And but yeah, it was a nice. I had no plans. Just wanted a day where I just didn't. I wanted a day where I wasn't online all fucking day, like, because that's what when I'm working, I'm literally online like 12 hours a day, and it makes me want to die. So I wanted a day where I wasn't like constantly checking the internet and just relaxing, and that was it. I'm getting older now. I'm approaching officially midlife, so I'm going to reach a point where I'm going to just stop acknowledging my birthday because I don't want to think about my impending death. So this will be one of my last birthdays, I think. I got like one more left, and then I just stop acknowledging it entirely.
Okay. So did you leave your phone at home?
No, I brought it. Of course. What do you think I am, Peter? A loser? I always have my phone.
Have you ever tried to do that? Have you ever tried to leave your phone at home to like just go for a walk with like the dogs?
I don't think I there's probably been like one or two times where I accidentally left my phone at home and like I feel naked. So I don't think I wish I could just like put it in like a drawer for like, a day and be like, I'm not going to look at this, but that'll never happen. Who am I kidding?
It's funny how dependent we have. I've never actually tried this, but I've definitely done it where I have left my phone at home when I went for like a walk or something, and then like probably 10 times during the walk I pat my pocket and there's no phone and I have the freak out moment and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot I left the phone at home, and then like go to look something up, oh, it's not there. I don't know, it's just so amazing how much we rely on this device.
Plus it's like, you might need it for an emergency, and like I don't, when I was younger and cell phones didn't really exist, you had to memorize people's phone numbers, but I haven't done that in years. Like, I don't even know like what my wife's phone number is, like off the top of my head. Like I have to, so I need my phone. God damn it. That's all I have to say.
I was thinking about that the other day. I couldn't tell you, Kitra and I have been together for 6 years now, and I couldn't tell you what her phone number is. I can't even tell you the area code.
Yeah, you don't need that information anymore. That's why the good Lord invented cell phones, so you don't have to memorize people's phone numbers anymore.
Ben, do you know Amy's number?
I do, but only because I've had to, for some reason, I've had to give it out. I like fill out forms or something, or like, I don't know. That's literally the only number that I know. I don't know my parents' phone numbers. I don't know anything, but I had to memorize that one for some reason, for some sort of form or something that I was filling out like a long time ago, and it's the only one that stuck with me.
This reminds me of that scene in Gone Girl where they ask Ben Affleck if he knows what his wife's blood type is, and he doesn't, and everyone's like, really? And I just want to add, I do not know what my wife's blood type is either, so...
I don't even know what my blood type is. So
yeah, I don't know that either. Yeah, whatever. God forbid I ever enter the hospital. Like, what's your blood type? I don't know. Give me the good stuff. That's what I'll say. Give me the.
All of us would do terribly in either a disaster movie or if we were sent back in time to like the 90s and we have to know people.
Yeah, we'd be doomed. Just like,
Sir, it says you've written down your blood type is just the word cinema. I don't think that applies here. I don't.
I will say that I do know my dad's phone number, and the only reason I know this, it's the only phone number I know other than my phone number. And the only reason I know this is he's had a cell phone since I was in high school, and he has the same phone number. So back in high school, I had to, like, before I had a cell phone, I had to memorize that number. So that number has been burned into my brain at some point. But okay, we've gone way off the rails here. Let's continue on with what we've been doing. I this past week I didn't really do much. I've been out and about. It's been good weather here in California, and the Pacific Park at Santa Monica Pier. This is the amusement park that's on the edge of the pier. You see it in Iron Man 1 or 2 or both. You see it in a bunch of movies. It has a Ferris wheel and has a roller coaster. It's been closed for over the last year, and they just reopened this past week. So Kitra and I went down there on a weekday because we thought it would not be busy on a weekday afternoon, and we were wrong. It was very busy. But they did limit entrance to the amusement park portion of the pier. We did a video for Ordinary Adventures. You can go check that out. But it was fun. But I will say we were there until I think like 5 or 6 o'clock. And once 4 o'clock hit, it got even busier. And we were like, okay, we were planning on staying there until like nighttime to see like the lights come on and stuff. But it was like too many people there. So we were like, we're out of here. And the other thing I did this weekend, everything's opening here in California because the cases are way down. And everybody has their vaccines and are feeling invincible, even though they aren't. I went to the Rose Bowl Flea Market. This is the flea market they have that surrounds the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California. And it's been going on for over 50 years. It has over 2,500 different vendors. It is the biggest flea market on the west coast of this country, and I had never been to it. So it was reopening for the first time in over a year. We decided to head down there, and they limited capacity. It felt safe. Everybody was wearing their masks. They required masks, and the state requires masks. But it was fun. And again, we recorded another video for Ordinary Adventures, and we didn't end up buying anything, but it's fun to see, like, when I was a kid, flea markets, my dad used to take me to a lot of flea markets, and it used to be a lot of like antiques, and sure, there's still antiques at these flea markets, but it really feels like flea markets are now catering towards the hipsters, and it's all just like 80s toys and like nostalgia and not, real quote unquote antiques. But Ben, have you ever been to the Rose Bowl?
No, I have not. I did this thing where I wore a different t-shirt every single day of my senior year of high school for some reason. So I went to a lot of flea markets and thrift stores and stuff like that at that time, but I have not been since. And once that task was completed, I was like, you know what? I think this chapter of my life is over. I'm not really interested in being in these spaces anymore.
Wait, so how many t-shirts?
I don't remember how many days are in a school year, but it just sort of worked out that way. I had like a ton, and then I like borrowed some from friends. It got to the point where like halfway through the year, or maybe not halfway. That's ridiculous. A couple months into the year, I realized that I hadn't worn the same shirt all year yet. And then I think I had a friend of mine from a different school who did something similar, and I was like, oh, that's a cool idea. Maybe I can do that. And then I don't know, it was just like something to keep me sane as I was like tapping my foot, waiting just to get out of high school. So
that would have been cool if like you had taken a photo of you every day and then made one of those like morphing videos or whatever.
Yeah.
A montage. Yeah. They had we didn't even go to the clothing section. This place was like too big. By the end, we were just like tired from walking. It was like because it goes around the entire Rose Bowl, and they had a whole section for vintage clothing and stuff. And I'm sure you could have found wardrobe for years of high school there if you wanted to. But okay. But if you want to check out those videos, those are both up on Ordinary Adventures right now, and I think they're fun. So go check them out. Brad, speaking of fun, what have you been up to?
Oh, the most fun that I have had. Actually, I won't say all year because this has been a really shitty year so far. But I got my one of my wisdom teeth out. Because so a long time ago. Let me preface this by saying that it had been a very long time since I had been to the dentist. Mostly because a combination of, for a while, I didn't have health insurance, and then also I just don't like the dentist. It's not to the point where like I have a phobia of it. I just really don't ever feel comfortable there. I'm not sure that anybody necessarily does, but like I just I think of the scraping of my teeth and the drilling and these things, and it's something that I just don't like. And so I had never had any problem with my teeth for the longest time. But a long time ago, I had lost a piece of a wisdom tooth, but I never did anything about it because it didn't hurt me at all after it happened, and it hadn't hurt forever until recently, when it started throbbing consistently but dully. It wasn't super painful, but then when I noticed that when I would drink cold liquids, I would get a very sharp, searing, lightning bolt kind of pain shooting through that tooth. So I assumed that whatever had happened underneath the surface was now bad enough that it was starting to like hit the nerve or whatever it was. And so I made I have health insurance now, and I had I just hadn't gone to the dentist, and I finally went and got it taken look at. I got it looked at, and it was cracked, and they said that since it was a wisdom tooth, the best course of action was just to pull it out, and they did. The downside was that this wisdom tooth was not straight rooted, so it really required some prying. In addition to also they have to like make an incision on your gums to properly get it out. The good news is that for somebody who hates going to the dentist, it was as pleasant an experience as it can be with somebody digging in your mouth for an extended period of time. Here's something that at least I don't know if this is like standard practice at all dentist office, but they put on movies for you now because they had a TV screen like set up on an arm above me, and they put on Return of the Jedi. I didn't even have to request Return of the Jedi; they just put it on. And so it's comforting to have like hear something that you like, while you're getting a tooth pulled out. But it was a painless procedure. They gave me plenty of Novocaine. Didn't feel anything. Didn't even like realize he had pulled it out until he had said it was pulled out. And it was and it was there was some pretty serious decay because it had been cracked and just sat there for so long. It looked kind of like a zombie tooth. I didn't get to keep it though. They normally let you keep your teeth if you want them, but I guess right now because of COVID restrictions, since there was blood involved and like there was blood on the tooth, they can't give it out because of health and safety. But I took some pictures of it for my own, just memories.
For your own memories.
Yeah, and so the recovery hasn't been too bad. It's the Novocaine lasts for like hours after you're done, and so I didn't feel any pain until later in the evening. And then they gave me some pretty good painkillers for the first few days afterwards. And it's still healing. I still feel the stitches they did and the suture to allow my gums to heal and fill back up. But like I had to eat like soft foods for the first 2 or 3 days, so like Jello, pudding, mashed potatoes, that kind of thing, and then gradually worked my way into regular foods with like scrambled eggs and oatmeal. And now I'm pretty much eating regular stuff. I'm avoiding more harder to chew things or like crispier things, so I'm not really eating like chips right now or like chewy meat or anything like that, and I'm chewing on the left side of my mouth where the tooth isn't. So they said it would take like 2 weeks before like it healed overall, and there's still a little bit of like dull pain here and there just from where like the stitches are and everything, but otherwise, like I said, as somebody who hates the dentist, I wasn't upset with how it turned out.
Has anybody else here gotten their wisdom teeth taken out while they were an adult?
I had one pulled. I can't remember when. It was a few years ago, but it was was like it was a wisdom tooth that had sort of the same thing. That had like I think it had a cavity, and they were like, "We're just gonna pull it out," and it was weird. Like they numb me, and then I don't feel anything, but I could definitely like tell there was a guy with pliers in my mouth. I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, I should probably feel something, but I don't feel anything as this man digs into my head with tools. So it was a surreal experience, and I've never had it again.
The most terrifying thing actually was, so while they have like a tool that like they grab the tooth and then like they have a pry tool to like pull it out and everything. The thing that really sucked, that worried me, was every now and then you would hear a sound when they were like putting pressure on it or like squeezing it to pull it and pry it, that it sounds like the tooth is cracking. And I'm like, oh my God, is this just going to shatter in my mouth? But I guess it's just like the tool like shifting across, the tooth itself and scraping, because it was terrifying.
I had the same exact thing happen, I want to say like 7 years ago, but I don't think they did Novocaine. They did some kind of anesthesia.
Oh, okay.
But now hearing you say how painless it was makes me wish I did Novocaine, because I remember taking this anesthesia and them going to do it and like me being kind of out of it but not really out of it, and it like still feeling the pain but not really feeling the pain.
Yikes.
And I also remember that these tools, like, I mean, you'd think that there'd be like more technological they're really just like using like hardware tools to rip your tooth out of your skull. Like they really aren't that advanced of technology in terms of tools, and it's really kind of shocking that we have not improved that in any sort, at least where I was. Now, I'm not saying they were like hammer and nails, I'm not suggesting that, but
you went to see Steve Martin's character from Little Shop of Horrors. That was your time.
Yeah, but I don't really remember much of it, but the person that was with me was out in the waiting room, and they said they could hear me screaming on the hallway for the entire thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
While we're on this, I feel like this is the point. The only time that I would ever bring something like this up is this was probably like 2018 or something like that. I went to the dentist so many times because just on a normal visit one time, they were like, "Oh yeah, there's a big problem with your mouth," and I'm like, "What are you talking about? Nobody has ever said that there's a problem with anything." And they're like, "Yeah, we actually have to pull one of your back teeth out." I had already gotten my wisdom teeth out when I was a teenager. But they're like, "We have to pull one of your back teeth out, or else like a giant abscess is going to form and your mouth is going to like slide off of your body," or some insane shit. I don't know. I don't remember exactly what they said. Well, I guess you have to do that then. So I went like probably 6 times in a year or something like that. And they ended up taking a tooth out and replacing it with like a plastic tooth. So I feel this, I have it in my mouth still, this plastic tooth in the back right corner of my mouth. It's so weird. Every time my tongue touches it, I'm like, oh God, what a weird experience to just have this weirdo thing.
I've never heard of that. Why would they even put a thing in there? Why not just like leave? Like, because this wisdom tooth that I had pulled was in the back, and they didn't like replace the tooth. It's just like a hole back there, but you can't see it because it's in the back. Is it like,
I don't know. I guess it's because it's not a wisdom tooth, because one had already been taken out. So it was like the next one or something. And like if they just took it out and left it, then like maybe all of my teeth would have slowly slid toward the back of my mouth.
What? That's so
I don't
weird.
know. I don't know. They told me all sorts of weird stuff like that, and I don't remember all of the specifics. So I apologize to anybody who actually cares about this. But it's just so I was like, well, we're in Tooth Corner of Slash Film Daily here, and this is the only time I ever get to talk about this.
Wow, we've really gone off the rails here. Apparently, when Jacob's not around, there's no structure here. Okay, HT, what have you been up to?
I got vaccinated. I got the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, and I think that makes me the last person on staff to finally get the vaccine. I'm very happy. I went through this whole like goose chase. I've updated some of you guys on the whole thing, but it was just basically me running around New York trying to get a surplus of various, vaccines, and finally getting an appointment for one after they expanded eligibility last week to everyone under 30. So I got it, and I can rest easy. And except for, well, I won't go into like my whole thoughts on the whole Johnson & Johnson being
paused.
suspended, yeah, because of a couple of cases of women finding like rare blood clots. But I think I'm in the clear. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I don't know, from whatever, yeah, let's not get into that. But it seems like it's like a technicality and not like a big concern at this point. So,
Yes, exactly.
And you launched a Patreon.
Yes. Big news. Jacob and I, for our podcast, Trekking Through Time and Space, which is a watch podcast for Star Trek and Doctor Who, we launched a Patreon for it. And we've got people who are subscribing to the Patreon. Like, people like us. And it's very exciting. It's Trekking Through Time and not Trekking Through Time and Space. It's patreon.com/Trekking Through Time and Space. And we have 5 levels. You can get bonus episodes or early access episodes if you give us a couple of bucks every month and give us your support, and we'll give you much more of Star Trek and Doctor Who shenanigans and me making bad puns and that kind of stuff. So thank you for everyone who has supported the Patreon. And please, if you guys are interested in either Star Trek or Doctor Who, or me and Jacob talking about those things, please feel free to check it out.
Yeah. How cool is that? I launched a Patreon last... was it last year? Yeah, it was last year at this point. And I don't know. I'm so grateful for everybody that like listens to us, that watches us, that reads us, and whatever. But it's like another feeling altogether when someone's like willing to put like $1 down to be like, I like you so much that I'm going to, put my money where my mouth is and like help support this thing that you want to do. I don't know. So it's really cool that you are getting all these supporters.
Yeah.
So I approve. Yeah. Let's move on to what we've been reading. HC, you're the only one who has been reading things this week.
Yeah. After getting the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, I decided to try to take a break away from the screen as well. Give myself a little me time, relax, just spend my day afterwards reading a book, and take it easy in case I did get any symptoms. I got very minimal symptoms. But I started reading my latest book of the month, which was Opal and the Final Revival of Opal and Nev. It's written by Donnie Walton, and it's a book about this fictional music duo that's told in the style of an oral history, written by this journalist who has sort of like a connection to one of the musicians in this duo, from her father, who's like has like this dark sort of past with the lead singer of this group, and it's really great. It's written like oral history, so it kind of gives a different type of approach to that sort of Black cultural background and history that goes back from the 60s to present day. And it has the ongoing sort of mystery too of that journalist who is writing this oral history, discovering more about her father and his connection to this duo, and the kind of secrets that are being unearthed. It's wonderfully written. It's a great, I think, debut novel from Donnie Walton. So I highly recommend it. That's The Final Revival of Opal and Nev.
And I know you weren't going to talk about this, but before we started recording, you told us that you had recently started reading a lot of Game of Thrones fan fiction.
Yeah, it's not even a recent thing. I've been revisiting some old Game of Thrones fan fictions, even because in my day, an attempt to get away from the screen, I ended up failing and just went to my phone and started went to Archive of Our Own, which is my favorite fan fiction website, and just I don't know why this happened, but I was feeling nostalgic, I guess, and decided to check out what was going on in the Game of Thrones fan fiction community. And I actually have read Game of Thrones fan fiction way before I started watching the show. I was reading the books, and I was so enamored with the characters and the world that I decided to just start reading some fan fiction while I was waiting for like the show to begin and for new seasons of the show. And yes, it's one thing I will say is that the Game of Thrones fanfic writers are far and away the best writing community of fan fiction writers that I've read. And I don't know why that is, but like they're at a almost professional level, which is why I think I keep going back to Game of Thrones fan fiction every now and then. But yeah,
Are they better than the fan fiction writers that did the last season of the show?
yeah, I mean that's probably why there's so many of them. There's an interesting trend that I'm seeing in the Game of Thrones fanfics, is that there's like these fix it type of fan fictions where the events of the last season happened to much more dire consequences, and a handful of characters remember, but then they wake up back at the beginning of the show and are like, wow, we can't allow that to happen. So they basically like start to relive the events, but with the memory
so it's
of what
Game of
happened.
Thrones Groundhog Day?
It's the nightmare of Game of Thrones.
It's the nightmare of Game of Thrones. Like, oh god, we can't let that happen. Actually, it's an interesting sort of plot construct, because it allows for a different kind of tension to be introduced to the show, in addition to all the familiar elements. So it's not just a retread, but something with like an added element, so added narrative element. So that was one that I read that I was like, oh, this is actually pretty interesting, but it didn't get updated since 2019, so it was very sad. I read 37 chapters of it though, so that was my weekend.
Jeez, 37 chapters. Okay, let's move on to what we've been watching. Brad and Ben both saw Bad Trip. Brad, let's start with you. What did you think of Bad Trip?
I had a lot of fun with this movie. It's pretty much what you expect. It's a narrative prank movie that, does stunts similar to like Borat and Jackass, but there's a story that weaves through it that connects them all together, with Eric Andre and Lil Ray Howery going on this road trip so that Eric Andre can tell his high school sweetheart that he loves her. And it's all just a vague setup to pull off these pranks on unsuspecting people. And oftentimes these kinds of movies usually end up being a little more mean-spirited, or like really like, gotcha, and like doing just like gross out kind of things, or things that expose people for being terrible. And what I found really interesting about Bad Trip is there's actually a lot of surprising and wonderful moments of people really being nice and going out of their way to help people, even in situations that are kind of like dangerous and it would be ill-advised to help a person. Like there's a scene where Tiffany Haddish is they make it look like she's escaped from prison by hiding under a bus, a prison transfer bus, and there's one like blue collar worker standing there who sees, and like he just like tells her, he's like, you have to get out of here, like you have to go. And when the security guard comes around, he tries to like play it off like he didn't see anything or anything like that. And there's another a stunt where they make it look like Eric Andre and Lil Rel are in this car accident, and the car blows up, but then like it's their point where they're fighting as friends, and this one guy, he's trying to like calm them down and keep them away from each other and stop them from fighting. And then when he finds out that the car is basically stolen, he's like, okay, well, you guys should probably get out of here before the cops show up, And just it was really interesting just to see how many people were like willing to help in the craziest situations, or like were genuinely worried for like their safety when things happen. And so it's really fun, and I just enjoyed it. It's a silly kind of prank movie. Ben, what did you think?
I thought the exact same thing, and I was actually going to highlight those two, I guess, civilians that you mentioned, because I was sort of taken with them as well, and the way that the movie, gave them room to just be good people, I liked this movie so much more than I thought I was going to, because this is one of those films, I think, okay, so according to an interview with Men's Health, I just looked this up, Eric Andre said that filming for this movie took place between October of 2017 and December of 2018. And this movie was just released on Netflix like a couple weeks ago. The pandemic obviously was a factor in that delay, but still, that was shot a long time ago. And typically when a movie was filmed that long ago and there's that big of a gap between then and when it finally comes out, the movie is just trash, and it's like, an embarrassment that a studio is trying to just dump or get rid of, and put with as little fanfare as possible. And this movie did not feel like that. It felt like, oh, this is, capitalizing and executing on its concept to like a really high degree. So I found it to be very, very funny. I think a lot of this stuff, like any comedy, will be, hit or miss depending on your sense of humor and stuff like that. There are some pranks and scenarios where I felt like, that we're not as great as others, but that's kind of like what you get in a scenario like this. There are so many different pranks and situations that, like, even if you hate one, just wait 5 minutes and another one will be on the way. It's that kind of vibe. So Bad Trip, way better than I thought it was going to be.
And also, what's also satisfying is that throughout the entire credits, they show the people like reacting and when they're told that it was a prank that was filmed for a movie, and like how they react and talking to them and everything, which is thoroughly entertaining as well.
Yeah, there were so many times where I was like, I just looked at my wife and we were just talking like, can you imagine being in this scenario and like thinking that this is real and just wondering what those people were going through. And yeah, it was really nice to be able to see those reactions and that sort of credits or post credits or whatever, that whole breakdown at the very end.
That's awesome, because I do feel like when I see these kind of movies or shows, I'm always more interested. Like, when I watch Bored, I'm like, oh, how did they set this up? How did this play out? How did, these people sign off for this? How did it get, like, I'm maybe not the logistics, but like, I would love to see the people learning that it is a prank movie or something. And I've heard a lot of favorable stuff about this, so I'm going to have to check this out. Where can I see Bad Trip?
Netflix.
It's on Netflix.
Ben, what else have you been watching?
So Chris and I both saw a new HBO true crime series called Pray, Obey, Kill, which I happen to think is a terrible title. Chris, what do you think about this title?
Yeah, it sounds too much like Eat, Pray, Love and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, very. They definitely could have come up with something else, I think. But I think let me see. It debuts when?
I think it actually premiered already.
Oh, yeah, April 12th. The first 2 episodes are out right now. I only saw the first 2 episodes. And Chris, you've seen all 5 or 6? How many are there?
Yeah, I saw all 5.
Okay. So this show is set in Sweden, and it involves this really, really small town. And there's a murder that took place in 2004 where the wife of a pastor was murdered, and a neighbor across the street was also or was injured, I guess. And this case suddenly blows up because of it sort of falls in this intersection of murder and religion in this really fascinating way. With only the first 2 episodes to go on, I'm not quite sure if I love the show yet, but I am curious about it. And it's just so, kind of like, unlike a lot of the other true crime stuff that I've seen, because this religious component is so intertwined with everything that's going on. There's a woman that is, I think she goes by like what is her name, Chris? Do you remember, like the bride of
I think it's the Bride of Christ.
Bride of Christ, yes. And all of these like religious things that are not part of any religion that I ever grew up in. So it's sort of like cultish behavior going on here. And I don't know, I haven't gotten enough, far enough into the show to know if it actually is a cult or if it's just some sort of sect of a different branch of whatever type of religion. But anyway, that stuff I think is like at the heart of this show, that intersection between the religion and this murder, and like whether the person who committed the murder thinks that God was the one who's telling them to do this, and the power struggles that happen within the church and this very tight knit and small congregation, and these people who are like making moves to fill power vacuums and stuff like that. So there's a lot going on here, at least in the first couple episodes. But Chris, I'm curious what you think, and then also if you think, having seen the whole thing, that it's like worth watching all the way to the end.
And Chris, no spoilers for reality.
Yeah, I won't. Yeah. I'm a little conflicted. I said this before. I watch a lot of true crime. It's like the one thing my wife and I just watch together all the time. And I'm getting really annoyed lately because they all keep suffering from the same problem, is that there are too many episodes, and almost all of these newer true crime docuseries could easily be like, a documentary, a one and done thing, and tell the same story but better and more precisely. And I'm getting a little annoyed with this. Like, there's clearly someone somewhere who has like a checklist, and they're like, all right, we'll green light your true crime thing, but it has to have a certain amount of episodes. It has to be basically like a podcast. It has to be less a docu-series, more of a podcast. And
what do you think is to blame? Is it Making of a Murder?
I guess because, Making a Murder obviously isn't the first true crime thing, but it's sort of ignited this latest boom we have where everyone keeps churning out new docuseries. And again, I like this in theory because, I want a good true crime docuseries. I'm fine with multiple episodes if the multiple episodes have an end game, have a point, they contribute to the story. But this and so many others I've seen recently don't do that. They have episodes where it just literally feels like they're spinning some wheels and they're just trying to pad the runtime. And it's frustrating because you can see, a glimmer of something better underneath. And there are interesting things here. I mean, the case itself is fascinating. There's a thing they do here where during the trial of one of the suspects, they had this person reenact the murders at the crime scene and they filmed it. And you see that footage. And I've never really seen anything like this before, where it's like the actual murderer at a crime scene reenacting the murders they did.
Wow.
And what makes it even more surreal is not only do they show the footage they showed in court, but they show like behind the scene footage where there's like director and a crew and they're all like joking around with this murderer and they're like, all right, you go stand there, and they're talking about like blocking the shot and lighting and like stuff like that is neat because I haven't seen that before in the true crime series. And there's another thing they do where if you watch a lot of true crime, you'll and really just documentaries in general lately, they keep falling back on drone shots where it's just anytime they want to set a mood or show where something's taking place, it'll cut to, a drone hovering over some trees or a house or stuff like that. And it's getting almost a cliche at this point. And this docuseries, at first, it does this really cool thing where instead of doing drone shots, they actually have like a miniature model representation of it's a commune where the people are living. And, it's, little model houses and little model cars. I was like, oh, that's neat. They're breaking the mold. And then they immediately just start showing actual drone shots. I'm like, why the fuck? I was like, why the fuck did you bother building that model if you're just going to have the drone shots anyway? So it's like, I don't know. Stuff like this just drives me fucking nuts. But again, that's partially that's because I watch so much of this shit. Like if you're like a casual true crime viewer, you might find this a lot more interesting than I did, but I'm sort of become like jaded where I like, I'm sure it's like Peter watching a magic show where like, I know all the tricks. I know all the ins and outs of how they're pulling this stuff off. So I'm like, I know exactly what they're doing here and I wish they would do it differently. So, this is an interesting story. I do think some people will get something out of this. I just wish it were better. But that's my rallying cry for everything these days. I just wish it were better. Give me something better.
Is this, the ending of the story, without revealing anything, is that interesting enough for Ben to like? What is your advice to Ben?
I mean, if Ben, you said you liked the first two episodes, right?
I think so. Yeah, they were a little slow, but I was curious and interested in what's going on.
I think if you liked the first episodes or you were interested enough, it's worth sticking with. I mean, what else you gotta do, Ben? Just watch it. But like, I wouldn't call this like a must watch, but it's well made. I guess it's handsomely directed. It could be worse. I can't name what it is because it's embargoed, but there's an upcoming true crime thing that I watched also over the weekend on Netflix. And boy, this thing stunk. It made me like angry. So I watched this and the Netflix thing back to back, and this was the better of the two. So make of that what you will.
All right. And it's called Pray, Obey, Kill, and it's on HBO if anybody's interested.
Oh, I have one more question because I know that this was originally filmed in Sweden and released overseas somewhere. So is this in English or is it subtitled?
No, it's subtitled.
Yeah, the whole thing is subtitled. Okay. That's one of the only downsides is that like characters will be talking during talking head sequences, like interviews, and you'll be trying to read the translation of what they're saying, the subtitles of what they're saying, but then a graphic will also come up on the side of the screen saying who they are and their their pertinence to the case or whatever, and so you're forced to try to read both things at the same time, and like sometimes you're like, wait a second, who is this person, because you're trying to, it's all in Swedish. So that's a very, very tiny nitpick, but something that I encountered anyway.
Okay, I haven't really had time to watch much TV this week or movies or anything, but I have fallen a little bit more down that Mr. Beast rabbit hole. After I mentioned this last week, I got a couple emails and tweets basically being like, Peter, you're the last person on earth to discover Mr. Beast, which is not true, because based on the reaction of the people on this, panel on this podcast, I am certainly not the last person to discover Mr. Beast. But
I'm just going to add, I will never ever watch Mr. Beast, so you're definitely not the last person.
Oh, well, if you guys will never watch it, then maybe it is possible I am the last, right?
No, someone else will watch it, I'm sure, at some point.
Well, anyways, what happens with YouTube is when you watch a couple videos from one creator, it keeps on like recommend, even if you're not subscribed to that creator, it keeps on recommending that creator to you on your main YouTube home screen. And I use YouTube for not only watching, I watch a lot of YouTube, but we have YouTube TV, so we watch our cable on our YouTube on our Apple TV. So they've been recommending a lot of Mr. Beast, and one of the holes I've fallen down with Mr. Beast videos is he does this series of videos where he goes on Twitch and he finds a Twitch streamer that is interesting, that's playing a video game, be it Fortnite or Minecraft or something, and he'll donate, on Twitch, like it's kind of like YouTube where you can super chat someone. People are playing this so that people will donate money to, they make a living playing these video games, and he will donate tens of thousands of dollars randomly to these people. Some of these videos, I think he donated $100,000 to a few different people, and seeing the reaction. Well, first of all, he does this in a variety of ways that is very interesting. I think, first of all, this doesn't have any of the problems that maybe I was talking about last week with Jacob. Whereas, he's not going up to a random homeless man on the street. He's not going up to some guy working his McDonald's job and like offering him money. Like, he's not, I mean, he is making money off someone for, giving them money. But in this case, it's people that are on Twitch already looking for money. So I think that part of it's fine. But number two, some of the times he'll find a Twitch streamer that's not popular. So he'll find a Twitch streamer that only has one person watching their Twitch stream, and he will tweet out the link to that Twitch stream to his, on his Mr. Beast account, which I'm guessing has millions of people following him. And then within minutes, this Twitch streamer who's never, doesn't have more than 100 subscribers, didn't have more than one person watching them, now instantly has like 10,000 people in their Twitch stream watching them play video games. And he'll, donate a little amount of money, like me, or not a little amount of money. He'll donate like $1,000 and see the reaction. And like, if the reaction's good, he keeps on going and going. And it's, I don't know, it's really great to see some of these people who, went to college and trying to pay off their college loans to get like $30,000 just donated and like break down into tears like in the middle of this live stream. And I don't know, it's
so Peter, are you saying that we should just all start Twitch streams and quit our jobs and maybe we'll be found by Mr. Beast and get $30,000?
Maybe. And there's also another thing he does where there's a couple series of videos where he'll go onto the Twitch stream and he'll make up a rule. So he'd be like, okay, so this game right here, however many times they blink in the next minute, I'll give them $1,000 for every blink. And they don't know he's there, and they don't know the rule. So you're really like hoping that the person, that doesn't know about this, doesn't know that, that there's consequences to how many times they blink. You're hoping that they blink a lot because you want them to get the money. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, that's what I'm saying, HT. We should all quit our jobs and just Twitch stream, and hopefully Mr. Beast will find us and give us money. But yeah. Anyways, again, I'm the last person in the world that is going to watch Mr. Beast that's found Mr. Beast. But that's what I've been watching. And I don't know, it makes me happy to see these people. The I don't know. Can you call it selflessness if he has a show that is
no.
I guess
he is doing this for attention. You cannot call it selflessness. As noble as it might be, he's still doing it to further his own.
He is doing it to further his own thing, but I did read an interview recently with him that says he actually loses money most of the time with his videos. So most of the money is actually going to the person that is getting the thing. But he's hoping in the end to, obviously get more subscribers for his channel and make money on merch. So he's hoping to make money on other ways. But I don't know. I think it's interesting that someone, I don't know, in a world where there are so many douchebags out there doing prank videos and being assholes, that there's this guy that, sure, there is some profiting off the expense of others here, but he is giving back to people. I don't know. Anyways,
he can profit off the others all he wants to, as long as he pays off my student loans. So I'm sure he's not listening, but if he is, come find me and pay off my student loans, please. Whatever.
Yeah. Okay, Brad, what have you been watching?
I watched Godzilla versus Kong on the old HBO Max. Haven't gone back to movie theaters yet because I just got my second vaccine shot last weekend, so waiting for that to get to full efficacy before I really head back to theaters. I think the first movie I see in theaters will probably end up being Mortal Kombat, so hopefully that's not too disappointing. But Godzilla vs. Kong was fun. I'm sure you guys have talked about this already, so I won't waste too much of your time, but obviously the human stuff sucks. The monster fights are cool. Lots of great visuals. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely much more bonkers than Kong Skull Island, even, or Godzilla King of the Monsters, or the first movie in the MonsterVerse that came before that rebooted Godzilla. But I had fun with it. It's the kind of I'm not sure that there's any way to really make the human stuff in these movies matter or actually be good without taking too much time away from what people really want to see with these movies. So if this is what they're going to be, then I'm perfectly fine with that, as long as they keep the kaiju fights coming like this. So there you go, Godzilla vs. Kong, fun stuff. I also watched the documentary series on YouTube about Demi Lovato, which is called Dancing with the Devil. And my girlfriend's a big fan of Demi Lovato. She's an incredible singer. She came up from Disney Channel. She's been a child star for a long time, and you've probably seen in the tabloids and whatnot that she suffered with substance abuse, alcohol, and drugs. She even had a close call where she overdosed and nearly died. And this documentary is about all of that. And what's kind of interesting is that they were already filming a documentary about Demi Lovato and her concert tour in 2018. Leading up to the time of when this overdose happened. So they had all this footage that they were supposed to use for a different kind of movie, and they use it as this lead up for this movie that is just more so about her addiction problems and the various issues she has had since she was young, from an eating disorder that came from obviously being young and famous and a woman in Hollywood, to her, struggles with alcohol and drugs. And, there's obviously tons of these stories in Hollywood that are tragic, that you hear about them. This one is it's very raw, and she's very open and honest, along with some of the people who are closest in her circle, her friends and her family. And just the way they talk about it is very open and honest and revealing. And it's just, tragic and hard to hear just her talk about some of these things and be open with them. But it's definitely something I think probably a lot of people need to hear. There are obviously a lot of disclaimers, because some of the things they talk about are very, they will definitely trigger people. There's talk about things like sexual abuse and things like that. But a very, just an intimate, revealing documentary that, if you're a fan of Demi Lovato or not, it's interesting to hear, these sides of, the world of Hollywood that is always depicted to be so glamorous and amazing. So that's available on YouTube. I don't know if you have to pay for YouTube Premium in order to get access to it, or if it's just free on YouTube. I know that I was able to watch it because I have YouTube TV now as my primary TV provider. So that's I was able to watch that there on YouTube. And then I finally got around to watching Host. I don't have Shudder, but I rented this from iTunes. But this is a Shudder original. It is very short. It's been talked about before. It's like barely an hour long. But it's such a fun use of Zoom and, being stuck at home during the pandemic. It's a horror movie that unfolds in this Zoom meeting between 6 friends who decided to do a seance just to screw around. Famously, our team did a seance themselves because of this movie. And this was just really cleverly done. The way they use the format, they get a lot of really cool original scares, using things that are unique to Zoom, like face filters and whatnot. It was just a fun, breezy horror movie that has it has a lot of jump scares, but it has jump scares that they don't feel cheap. They work, and it's very suspenseful and just a good entertaining horror movie to watch. So if you have access to Shudder or you want to rent it, I think it was $5 to rent it on iTunes. So yeah, definitely worth your time. Host.
Okay, Chris, what have you been watching?
I watched The Muppets Take Manhattan because it's on Amazon Prime now. I had said this a while back on the water cooler, but I was surprised that The Muppets Take Manhattan was not on Disney Plus, and then I learned after the fact, one of our readers actually wrote in that Disney doesn't actually own that movie, and they also don't own Muppets from Space. And I'm too lazy to look into why that is, and I don't really know the details. But all I know is that Muppets Take Manhattan was not available to stream until now, and now it is, and it is delightful. I have nothing new to add. I've seen it before, obviously, but I just love the Muppets, man. There's just something magical about watching the Muppets do their thing and watching them exist in this world where everyone just, is fine with Muppets walking around. No one's like, I feel like you couldn't invent the Muppets these days. It would have, if they had never existed and someone was trying to come up with the Muppets right now, there'd be something like some bullshit meta thing going on where people are like, these puppets are walking, just something dumb. And the original Muppets, the whole thing was like, no one ever thinks it's weird that they're interacting with Muppets. It's just like, that's the world we all live in. It's just how it is. And there's just something so charming and nice about those original Muppet movies. And I really wish they would make another Muppet movie because it's, we haven't had one since Muppets Most Wanted, which I've talked about before and have gone on record as saying is a really good movie despite its reputation. So I wish we had give me a new Muppet movie every year. God damn it. Let's go. Get off your butt, Hollywood. Thank you.
I'm going to agree with you. I love the Muppets. Muppets Take Manhattan, I think, is my favorite one of their movies. But I got to disagree with you that Muppets Most Wanted is not a good movie.
Oh, it's great. Muppets Most Wanted rules, Peter. Have you watched it recently? It's so much fun.
I don't know.
I promise you, if you revisit this, you'll find... Because I don't want to... I'm going over things I already said before, but I avoided seeing it when it came out because the reputation was not good. Everyone was just like, this is a step down from the Muppets and Jason Segel isn't back. And I was like, well, then I won't see it. And so I avoided it all these years. And then just recently, I saw it was on Disney Plus. I was like, what the hell? I'm going to give it a chance. And it's so good. It's so much fun and funny. And the songs are great. I will die on this hill. Muppets Most Wanted, good movie.
The other thing I wanted to comment on what you said is the people just treating the Muppets like it's normal for Muppets to be walking around. Not only do they do that, but they'll be like, oh, there's a bear over there. And they don't treat it as if a bear being around in, Central Park would be, no one runs.
Yeah. It's just a normal thing. That's the world. The characters in those movies, they fully accept that bears will wear hats and hang out in the park and tell jokes, really bad jokes. So I want to live in that world where everything is charming and full of Muppets.
Okay, let's move on to what we've been eating. Brad hasn't been eating anything this week because of his tooth, so I will take up the chair with telling you what I've been drinking. And I think I might have mentioned this on a previous podcast. This came up because Jacob is on a much needed mini vacation trip, and he's he posted this Instagram post of he like a couple of us on staff do not drink beer, and his wife is trying to teach him the the wonders of beer, as he put it. And and I think I was talking with you guys about what I drink, and I beer, I just can't stand beer. I've tried to give every kind of beer like a shot, and it just hasn't worked for me. So I'm more of a cider guy, and I love cider, and of course hard alcohol and fruity frozen drinks and stuff like that. But I recently discovered something new, or not recently, I want to say like a few months back, discovered something new, and that is Cutwater spirits. And these I don't know how you do it. I guess it's just like
it's like a cocktail in a can, basically.
Yeah, it's a cocktail in a can. That is the perfect way of saying it, Chris. And they originally came out with just a couple flavors. I think they had a tequila margarita, they had a Mai Tai, they had a vodka mule, and something else. But they've added on. It's become very popular, and they've added on and added on. They've recently released a bunch of new ones. Like they have a strawberry margarita, a peach margarita. They have oh my god, it's escaping. What's the drink that the dude likes to drink in Big Lebowski?
White Russian?
Yes, or yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's
White
what he
Russian,
drinks. I don't know if that's
yeah, they have that. I really like the White Russian. I like the tiki rum Mai Tai, and I usually with my tiki rum Mai Tai, I've been drinking it. I'll get some pineapple juice. I'll mix it with some ice and some pineapple juice, and these things are strong. I'm not sure. Have you had one of these, Chris?
Oh yeah, I've had a few. Yeah, they're pretty good.
Yeah, they have like two. I forget what like 2 shots of alcohol in most of these. So it's the equivalent of like 8 beers, or like, no, sorry, 4 beers in one. The amount of alcohol is equivalent to 4 beers in one of these things. So it can easily get you drunk. Not that I've gotten, I wouldn't get drunk. I get buzzed, but I've been drinking these when we do our Ordinary Adventures live streams on YouTube. But I really like them, and I've been searching for all the flavors. They have this like cold brew one that I've still been unable to find. But I don't know what it is about these, because I could very easily get the ingredients to make a Mai Tai myself. But is it, Chris, is it that I'm that lazy that it's just like easy?
No, I mean, sometimes you just don't feel like mixing a goddamn drink. Especially like there's some drinks they have like 5 or 6 ingredients, and it's like I just want to get drunk, I just want to pop a top and start drinking. I don't want to, I'm not reenacting fucking Beekman's World over here. I don't need an experiment. Just give me a drink. That's all I want.
Wait a second. What is Beekman's World, Chris?
Beekman's World was like Bill Nye the Science Guy, but it was like, you never saw Beekman's? You never saw Beekman's World, Ben?
I don't think so.
He had like a Brooklyn accent, and he had like a cute girl and also a giant rat were like his assistants, and he would do experiments. It was like a Saturday morning show. It was fun.
Maybe I just completely blocked this out. I'll have to look up a screenshot to see if I'm I remember Bill Nye from like high school or elementary school science teachers like wheeling the old TV in and showing.
This was like the punk rock Bill Nye. Don't get me wrong. Bill Nye is he's a cool science guy. But Beekman's World was like the cooler one because he had an accent.
Oh my God, had a giant rat. I'm looking at pictures of the rat right now. It's just a guy in a really terrible rat costume.
Yes, it was very funny. I don't think they had much of a budget on Beekman's World.
Okay, we've gone way off track. Basically, what I'm saying, guys, is why hasn't anybody decided to can like a mixed cocktail before this? Like, why is it taking this long?
There are other. I think in the UK actually
there are some.
They have.
I think Trader Joe's sells something like that. Oh, they sell like wine. I think in cans, actually, like sparkling wine or something. Maybe they sell cocktails too. I'm not sure.
Okay, I'm gonna check out Trader Sam's or Trader
Joe's.
Sorry, I'm talking. Trader Sam's is the Disney Tiki Bar, which is probably gonna get renamed because it's based on a headhunter that's kind of a problematic figure. Anyways, okay, we have reached the end. Is basically what I'm saying. You can find more of all of us at slashfilm.com. You can find this podcast on Apple, Google, Overcast, Spotify, all the popular podcast apps. Please feel free to send us your feedback, questions, comments, concerns to us at peter@slashfilm.com. And please rate and review this podcast on Apple Podcasts. Tell your friends. Spread the word. And we'll see you tomorrow. I'm not going to do it to you guys, but on Ordinary Adventures, we do this thing. We have a P.O. box where people send stuff into the P.O. box, and we open it up usually once monthly, but we haven't done it in a couple months, and we just did it this past week. And one of the packages in this P.O. box that I opened up happened to be the book. Someone sent me the book.
Wow.
So I have the book in front of me, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do
Peter,
it.
you said this. You made this whole deal out of Jacob not being here at the beginning. Now you're pulling this on us.
No, I'm not going to read out of this. It's not going to happen. I have the power to press the stop button. And that's what I'm going to do right